So what does the future of Hawaii look like? Particularly when we're talking about the economy and jobs for future generations. Can Hawaii continue to rely so heavily on tourism? And if so, for how long? A recent white paper by 2 economists offered suggestions for things Hawaii could do to ensure that the economy continues to grow. And while I respect the findings of the authors, I have to respectfully disagree with what they proposed. I know in Hawaii, we're not supposed to rock the boat and everyone just gets along and agrees, but I just couldn't help myself. And so this is my reaction to what they're proposing, as well as a counter solution or an alternative to how we can improve the economy here in Hawaii. And while I may not have a PhD in economics, I did take an economics class back in college. I think it was macroeconomics. Could have been microeconomics. Either way, hey, I got 1 A. I highly encourage you to read the paper for yourself, but essentially what the authors are proposing is that in order for Hawaii to grow its economy and to ensure a bright future for upcoming generations, we need to invest in human capital through the University of Hawaii, essentially developing innovation, technology, and ideas while importing financial resources. And if that sounds a little ambiguous, yeah, it's because it kind of is. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire paper, but I just want to highlight 3 sections of the paper and just offer some comments. The first thing is, let's talk about the kids. Each summer, the same truth is rediscovered. Most bright young people don't see their future in Hawaii. By the time they finish high school and enter college, they have been socialized to believe that there is no future for educated knowledge workers in Hawaii. Now, as someone who went to public school here in Hawaii, I have to respectfully disagree. I don't think that we're socially conditioned to believe that if you're smart, if you got ideas, if you're dreaming big, sorry, there's no place for you in Hawaii. Because if that's the case, honestly, the future is looking pretty bleak for most local kids. And I'm just thinking back to my own experiences back in high school. Frankly, I wasn't really thinking that far into the future. I mean, I knew I'd eventually have to grow up and get a job, but I never really thought about whether people who are smart, there's no place for them. I looked at my own parents, for example, both well-educated, PhD and a master's degree from the mainland. They're both from here, they came back home. And if I look at them as an example, they came back and made a life for themselves here. People who are highly educated, who are knowledge workers, and they raised a family. So based on that observation, I don't see it as being impossible. But if that is true, particularly for public high school kids, I hope that they unlearn that. I hope they don't think that Hawaii is just some brain drain place that if you're smart, forget it, you gotta go mainland. But now the second part. When correlated with Oceanit's 10-year experiment working with Hawaii's K-12 public schools, focusing on nearly 5,000 teachers and 200,000 students, where they were introduced to design thinking, computer science, and artificial intelligence, and there was no observable change in outcomes, an important discovery was made. One could argue that this decade-long K-12 research project was a failure. However, one often learns more from failure than when things go as expected. Now, when it comes to what they observed and trying to teach design thinking and computer science and artificial intelligence in schools, which, by the way, I think is absolutely wonderful, not everyone is interested in STEM. I know that STEM is getting this huge push back from, I don't know, maybe the early 2000s, and my brother was one of those students who went to public school, and because of that STEM push, that's where he found his interest. He went to IIT and he went off to Berkeley for engineering. Wonderful education, wonderful experience. But the thing is, not everyone is interested in STEM. I think we have to remember that there is a spectrum of interest, and if Hawaii were just to produce scientists and engineers and people that are working in the computer science fields, while that's wonderful that they have the potential to earn more jobs, not everybody wants to do that. And don't get me wrong, I love technology. In fact, this is what I'd look like as a mongoose. So instead of just pushing STEM so much, maybe we should try to introduce kids to a variety of industries. Things like the trades in construction, maybe financial literacy, so that no matter what job they have, they're able to manage their finances. Maybe teach them some business skills so they could potentially start their own business. Because I think that these are a lot more universal skills that they can apply to whatever they choose to do. because I'm glad that in school, STEM wasn't pushed on me. In fact, I didn't know what I wanted to do. When I graduated high school, my original plan was to become a science teacher. I wanted to teach, and that's why I went to the University of Northern Colorado. But that quickly changed. I changed majors and found myself in English and journalism for some reason, because that's what I enjoyed. And I think it's okay that people have different interests. Not everybody wants to go into science and math and engineering and technology. Those are wonderful fields, but when you look around at what people actually end up doing, most of them are not in the majors that they ended up choosing in college. And even if they are, they may not be interested in it for very long. The second thing I want to comment on is this idea of investing in human capital through the University of Hawaii. Although most in Hawaii recognize that the University of Hawaii's football team is important to the community, few fully appreciate that the future relies on the University of Hawaii supporting research and investing in human capital formation, producing graduates, scientists, engineers, and entrepreneurs, and creating knowledge. Now, as someone who supports the University of Hawaii and their athletics, I kind of question the idea of solely relying on UH to train our own. Because I would argue that the best way to gain knowledge and experience is actually to send our kids away to the mainland so that they can learn over there what other people are doing and then bring that knowledge back here to Hawaii. Because there's a potential that it could create this sort of vacuum, right? This knowledge vacuum that, oh, we're just in Hawaii, we're so isolated that things don't change. That innovation that we're trying to push, that they're suggesting, I don't know if it can come from if we continue to just teach and educate here. And it's not to say that innovation can't occur within Hawaii, but I don't think that through the university is the way to do it. I think it's by sending people that are from Hawaii away for a little while, and they bring back some of those ideas and they somehow blend it. Because they're from here, they blend it with the local culture, and that's where the innovation comes from. Now, I liken this to private school here in Hawaii. Now, hear me out, it's sort of a stretch, but I hope that they connect. Now, do you think that the most talented, the brightest kids in private school, like Punahou, started private school when they were kindergarten, or maybe later down the road, like 7th or 9th grade? And I think that's a very important question to ask, because it questions whether these schools themselves produce the top talent, or are they just nurturing the top talent? Because when I think about private school admission, especially as kids get older, they're a lot more selective. The schools are able to select the smartest and the brightest and the most talented. But those kids got that intelligence, that ability to learn, that talent from outside of private school. And they're all sort of brought together and concentrated when they get older and start moving up in the grades. And so to me, that's not proof that the private schools themselves are the ones educating and making these kids smart. They're already smart before they get to private school. It's just private school nurtures that, it enhances that ability. And I would be very curious to know if the brightest kids are really from private school, in the sense that, did they grow up and did they start their education from kindergarten? Or are the brightest kids the ones who go off to do amazing things, even the valedictorians? Did they start school later? Like, did they work so hard in K through 8th grade, for example, to just get into private school, so that once they start 9th grade and high school, that they're actually smarter and more talented than the kids who have been in private school their entire lives? Now, how this ties into this whole idea of growing your own versus sending kids out, maybe those who make the biggest impact in Hawaii are those who actually spent time away, whether it's living up on the mainland on their own, otherworldly travels, or education. Maybe those are the people who, although they're from Hawaii, they go away and they bring back their ideas, they bring back their experiences, and they're the ones who make the changes around here. And it's because of those experiences that we're all benefiting from it. And again, that's not to say that someone who spends their entire life here in Hawaii, educated through the public school system here, can't make changes, cannot come up with great ideas. But I think when you're talking about innovation and creating new things, you have to draw from new experiences that are not local or native to Hawaii. And when you do that, you're able to then blend these new ideas, pulling from a myriad of experiences, so that now you have brand new ideas that we've never seen, yet they're still familiar and can assimilate themselves within the culture. And last point on this paper states, Hawaii has become comfortable exporting financial resources and importing expertise, but it needs to consider a 180-degree shift, exporting expertise, knowledge, and innovation, investing in human capital formation and knowledge creation, while tapping global financial resources. I understand the idea of wanting to export expertise and knowledge and all of these wonderful things. But in a very more practical sense, wouldn't those people who have the innovation, the knowledge, and all of that technology, wouldn't they just move away? I mean, isn't that what we're trying to prevent here? People leaving the state, young people who are well educated, that they're gonna take their innovation, their entrepreneurial spirit, their ideas, they're just gonna take them and move elsewhere. Because if we're so focused on exporting these ideas, what's to stop them from leaving with those ideas as well? And we've seen this with some Hawaii tech companies who start here in Hawaii, and that's wonderful, but they end up taking their idea elsewhere, to California, to Texas, to other states, because it just makes more business sense. Now let's talk about STEM and the University of Hawaii. A key driver for growth should be the University of Hawaii, which should be a haven for big aspirational ideas, aggressive STEM recruitment and investment. Preparing local kids to be part of the future requires that local K-12 schools share a version of the future that includes them, the kids. Exactly, let's get the kids involved, because maybe they're not interested in STEM. Or better yet, let's take a look at what Hawaii actually needs, the jobs that it needs to fill. We need more workers in the healthcare industry? Good. Let's find ways to create healthcare pathways for these high school students so that they know exactly where they can go from high school through college to getting some of the jobs here locally. We need more people in the trades, in construction, since that's an upcoming industry and they project that in the short term, construction is going to be huge here in Hawaii, but we don't have enough workers. If that's the case, great. Let's get more career paths that are involved in the trades, plumbing, construction, electrical, all those things, so that these kids know that yes, there's jobs available, but also that they can make a living here. You don't only have to be a doctor or a lawyer to get rich here in Hawaii. In fact, you could be in debt for a while with the student loans that you're going to have to take. There are other career paths that you can earn a very good living. The thing is, we just don't hear about them all that much. And when you pair with that awareness of what jobs we need in Hawaii with financial literacy, things start to get a little bit more affordable here in Hawaii, because we desperately need people who can fix things. And talking about more real things, not just designing things, but we need people that can fix the plumbing, because especially in this area, it's gonna need a lot of work. We need people that can fix cars and air conditions and solar panels and all the things that just regular people have to deal with. Now, I think that this is a really great discussion to have. What does Hawaii's future look like? And what does the economy turn into as we're sort of turning a corner here post-pandemic? I just don't think exporting expertise and expecting financial resources to come pouring into Hawaii is very realistic or practical. Now, at the end of the paper, the author cited this map that King Kalakaua used on his exploration in the 1800s. And in it, it placed Hawaii in the center of the map. And that was supposed to change the perspective on how other people saw Hawaii, that it could be the center for economic activity. But first, let's think about the map. Hawaii's at the center because it's in relation to other ports and naval stations as a strategic point. We had agriculture going at the time, and so of course it makes sense that we'd have Hawaii connected to all of these places, because that's how things moved back then, through ships. And second, he could put Hawaii at the center because he's the king. Of course he could do that. But I think if you talked about Hawaii in that perspective these days, you'd get laughed at. Again, that's no disrespect to Hawaii. This is my home, it's where I'm from. But spend any amount of time away from Hawaii and you realize we're not the center of the world. People don't really think about us all that much, and that's okay. But spending time away from Hawaii will show you that perspective. That's the only way you can see it. Because for the most part, people view Hawaii as a vacation destination. And I don't think we're ever going to change that. That's just the way that we've marketed ourselves over the years. But it doesn't mean that we don't have a unique culture here or even a micro economy. or micro society here. We're so isolated. Our economy is very delicate, as was shown through the pandemic, and I'd love to see us diversify our economy here. In the more immediate, I'd love us to be able to take care of ourselves, to look at the things that we really do need here and to address those issues. Grow food that people actually eat here through things like vertical farms. Make sure that we're staffed up in our healthcare facilities so that current and future generations will be taken care of. And have a healthy construction and government workforce so that we can continue to build, well, maybe not so much those, but continue to build as well as provide government services so that we can take care of ourselves. Because rather than asking what can Hawaii export out to the world, I think the better question is what can Hawaii do to take care of itself in the future? So let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching and aloha.